Hello, flatties and globe defenders. It's Critical Think from Down Under, and here we have with part 2 of the Flat Earth Mirage. In part 1, we dispelled the myth that the refraction layer was in fact hiding a ship instead of the curve, but that's been debunked, and now in this video we're going to totally demolish that myth. Thanks for watching. Let's go.
So the flatties refuse to acknowledge that a ship can go over a curve, even though it's ridiculously obvious. So instead they make up excuses, like the dirty air one, the layer of dirty air from Ranty. So I've shown that more or less it's more like a layer of bollocks, so we'll continue with that. Now let's take a look at another one of Ranty's videos. It's got a ship that's just at the horizon by the looks, and it's sailing along with, you'll notice that there's a wake. There's an inversion layer, but you can still see the wake on the front of the ship, and the wake is above the inversion layer. So have you ever seen a wake floating in midair? A ship floats on water, not on air. And similarly, at the back of the ship, there's a wake! And it's on top of the inversion layer, on top of the so-called layer of dirty air. So won't that make you think that there's actually water there and not air? So the last time I checked, ships only float on water, not on air. Now here's another one of Ranty's videos. And this ship, you can see there's a wake all along the side of the ship, just right on the mirror line. Funny about that. Look at that. So that mirror line is exactly where the water line is, suggested by the disturbance in the water and the wake appearing. Isn't that amazing? Now, inferior mirages can occur over land. In fact, they're very common over land. So let's look at a couple of those. And now, in this case, do you think that that inferior mirage, that what looks like a pool of water, is actually water? Or do you even think that it is actually a band of dirty air? Now, think about this carefully, because you can actually see the land behind it. So if that was a layer of dirty air, how is the land sitting on top of air, just there in midair? I don't think that that's possible. And in this case, again, if that reflection was just dirty air, then there's a whole house just sitting there up in the air, suspended like nothing. So that seems to dispel the idea that that could be just a layer of dirty air and not really the land that's underneath it. And here's another example. It looks like a lake, but just because it's not over water, you're not going to have a problem with this. But you know, over water is the same. It's still an inferior mirage, still caused by similar conditions, and there's over land, things are different. They're different because you can have land behind it, whereas in water you cannot see the horizon because there's only sky behind it. But here on land, this is obviously not just air. The mountain cannot sit on top of air. And if you look at the roadway, you cannot say that either that this is a layer of dirty air, because that would make that between the so-called hard horizon at the foreground there and the motor vehicle where the reflection is. By the argument that's given, they would say that this car is suspended in midair, which is obviously a ridiculous argument. And because when you see a ship over the horizon, because some of it is obscured, it's very convenient to say, oh, it's the layer of dirty air that obscures it. But this, you would also have to say in this photo, the car is suspended above the layer of dirty air. And just like the photo of the ship before, where the wake was suspended in midair, the bow wave and the wake at the rear of the ship has to be suspended in midair, which is a physical impossibility. For this to be true, that this is just a layer of dirty air. And this layer of dirty air is so strong it can even suspend a truck.
Difference, it's the mirror layer, the reflection gradient, so to speak. So at this freehand, I'm holding now with the tripod stuck to me, so this is why it's wavy. But as you can see, the mirroring effect is a different type of mirroring effect to when I lower the angle. So now when I put the tripod down 2 feet, you can see a difference in the effects of that mirroring. There isn't as much of it reflected down, it's just merged into just merged into one another. It's important to understand this phenomena because obviously this is not curve.
I'm going to call bollocks on this on 2 counts. 1, that it's a different type of mirroring, and 2, that this can't possibly be curvature. So I've built a high-tech ship simulator to help with this. So here's a picture of my simulator. And I've put the flat earth theodolite to good use to make a bit of a ramp for the water, the simulated water. And here's a picture from the higher angle from Ranty's video, and you can see that there is a mirror line there, and so that's just a reflection of the text above in the mirror layer here, and the mirror line on the ship, which is the top of the horizon, is actually right there. And in my simulator, I've simulated that with a picture like this. It's a very similar reflection point. Then Ranty's gone lower, and this time the mirror line is there, but he's called it a different type of mirroring. No, it's just still mirroring, it's still mirrored. It's just that the mirror line, which is the horizon as I have demonstrated, has gone up. So in these sections, see the horizon line is under the S, and in this one the horizon line has gone up, and I've simulated that in my simulator by moving the mirror layer up. So it's not a different type of mirroring, it is in fact just mirroring, and it's distorted, and that's what may have been confusing. But if you draw that line there, it's easy to see that that's just a mirror, and that one you can easy to see that's just a mirror effect. Now in regards to the fact that it can't be curvature, I'll be showing another little video shortly, but this here is the up and down movement causes a parallax shift in view. the ship behind and the horizon in front. So it's very simple parallax, so that when you go down in view like this one, the parallax, the closer object rises to obscure the further away object. And well-known scientific principle, easily demonstratable. I'll show you in a minute. And you get higher, the line goes down. So this is a demonstration of curvature because of that parallax shift. That if the ship and the water were right, that water level was right up against the ship, you wouldn't see it. So in fact, in my model, that's why I had to shift this waterline up to take that photo, because there was no way I could cause that effect with the water right up against the ship. So that's it for those two things, and I'll move into more about why that's curvature. Now here's a video that's come to you from another flatty, and it shows a sandbank and there's a boat in the water. Now this sandbank here is like, yes, between you and the boat, and it's like a hump. And as we play, you'll notice as you go down in height, the sandbank rises and the boat starts to disappear behind the curve. Now, this is the parallax thing that I was just talking about. If the boat is behind the hump or curve, then the sandbank in the front will obscure the boat. So everybody will acknowledge that. Even the flatties will acknowledge that. They'll go, duh, of course. But if you were to actually change that sand into water, that suddenly becomes impossible according to them, because they cannot wrap their heads around the fact that water could be curved. But you can see that the phenomena is exactly like the ship going over the horizon. So you go change your eye level, and oh look, you go higher, the ship's there. And then you go down, only see half the ship, none of the ship, all according to the only thing that changes is your observer height. So I don't see how you can argue with this. This is the exact same effect you see over the ocean, and if I were to colour that sand so that it looked like water, it would be exactly the same. But no, when it's water, the flatty brains have to make up all this other mumbo-jumbo pseudo-scientific bollocks stuff to make up for the fact that they think it can't be water. So I've configured my ship simulator in a slightly different configuration, and I've also demonstrated this effect with my highly advanced simulation. Now here's a video taken with you can see the sea in front of the ship, and as we change in observer height, the sea level will go down in relation to the ship. You can see more ship, and come lower observer height, and the water level comes up, just like what happens in real life.
And yet, the funny thing is, where that refraction band is, on a windier day, that refraction band and everything under it would look like the ocean. It would mimic the ocean. The waves turning around and being choppy underneath it would catch a reflection, and then you would actually think that that is going over the horizon, when essentially all it's doing is being hidden behind that refraction layer.
So we have a refraction layer that on certain days when the conditions are different it looks exactly like the ocean. And also, this refraction layer can somehow support the weight of an entire ship. Well, thanks for watching. That's all we have for this part 2. And if you'd like to see a part 3, you could let me know in the comments. And if you like my videos, please thumbs up and subscribe. We'll see you next time.